We were out Wednesday, Thursday, delay Friday. The days are running together so much.
I said that last week too, because I went out and then come back.
I was telling, Matt, after 4.5 days.
Yes, great.
Because they took it out.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for being here tonight. My name is Jenna Jo Parker, and I'm going to call our January board meeting to order. If you will, please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We open each of our meetings with a reading of our mission, vision statements, and the 3 R's. Sarah, will read our mission vision.
Mission statement. High Point Academy's mission is cultivating lifelong learners in a student-centered environment. Vision statement. High Point Academy's vision is to be an exemplary school of choice for academically minded families.
Thank you, Sarah. The 3 R's. We practice the 3 R's. Rights. The right to a quality education, the right to a safe environment, the right to reach my potential. Respect. I will respect my classmates. I will respect my teachers. I will respect myself. Responsibility. I am responsible for my education. I am responsible for my actions. I am responsible for my opportunities. Antika will lead us in our invocation.
Please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support. As we begin this meeting, help us engage in meaningful discussion, allow us to grow closer as a group, and nurture the bonds of the community. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Tika. Our first order of business is approval of the meeting agenda. Is there a motion? Matt, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Kyle, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Moving forward with our agenda. First up is our Grizzly Spotlight.
It's best for you.
I don't believe any of my people are here tonight, but I will tell you that we have 2 kids who performed very well at the spelling bee. They were our top 2 elementary kids from there, and those were 4th grader James Gaffney and Ty Keaton. So I'll give them those. I was very proud of them.
I'm not gonna do this one by myself. I need to call Miss Edith up with me. Because I didn't make Rachel take pictures. Yeah. So I want to be able to share for just a few minutes. You know, we had this grand vision during the hurricane that we were going to do a food pantry to be able to serve students that were in need. Come stand with me. I wasn't in the way. No, we have this together. So one of the things that we realized is that our students needed far more help than just a hurricane. That we needed to be able to serve them in other capacities. So in my brain, I was like, this is the class that I used to teach. So I'm going straight to Marsha Edens, and Marsha's students are going to be able to help us manage this. They have taken it from the ground up. They not only have handled the organization side of it, they also come back to me and tell me when we're out of things. They deliver discreetly to all of the students' classrooms, leave them out the door. They came up with the systems and the processes. So the one thing that was most impressive to me is their system, and she allowed the students to come up with the system. So tonight I want to recognize our students that have taken this just to the next level. It's just amazing, the students. How many students are we serving right now? 31 students out of our schools every week. And we do a bag out of the food pantry that consists of everything from snacks to peanut butter to bread to paper towels and toilet paper. And then very frequently we'll do toothpaste and toothbrushes and be able to replenish toiletry supplies and stuff too. So it just is an amazing, I always call it a mission because it just like gets to my core. So I want to recognize these students. Kaden Bagwell. No, he's not. Addison Valderrama, she's not here. Miss Rebecca Huntley.
She's here.
She's
Come on,
here.
girl.
Come here, girl.
And that's not Rebecca on the picture.
That was
Yeah,
pajama day
it
at
was
Christmas.
pajama day. She doesn't normally wear
typically dress like
that. Caden Dotson. There you go. And then Akias Kramer is the last one. So thank you guys.
I have the honor of celebrating 3 students tonight from high school. Bailey came in first. Lucas, I'm sorry to tell you this, but I gave her the opportunity to either do a duet with you or a solo, and she said neither, that Lucas was going to do the solo. So you came in here late, you have to do that. So Bailey said she'd beat me up if I made her do it. So I'm not doing that. I like giving the students a hard time. They know because they give me a hard time too. So it makes it fun. But I would like to introduce them as they are here. Some of them, Maddie is not here tonight, but we do have Bailey McCraw, All-State Chorus. And Mr. Lucas Burns.
Get her to come back. Bailey, come back. Now, let them describe what this process is and how difficult this is.
Go for it. He said Bailey, Lucas, I got your back on this one. Come on. Go for it, Bailey.
Hi. So basically, the whole thing is they give you a song each year that, there's a soprano, alto, tenor, bass, and soprano too, actually. And then you have to memorize your part, and then you have a sight reading section where they give you a 8-measure part of random notes that you have to sing within a minute, and they score you out of 204 points based on how many things you get right.
It's very nerve-wracking for the students. I can say that. I know my daughter's been through it too, and it's
How many?
a lot of
how many
crying
students
going on.
participate?
Mr. Mack actually got to select people this year because of how many students he had. So it's based on how well you do during his rendition of the tryout. So he took around 20 students.
How many statewide?
So there's about 200, it's usually out of 2,000 participants, usually 200 get chosen. They have 3 choirs, each consisting of maybe 75 to 100 students. Each of them, there's a girls' choir and 2 guys in girls' choir.
Sorry.
That is awesome. So, what were you, a tenor?
Yes, I was there.
Soprano 1. What's the difference between soprano 1 and 2 for those of us who are music?
Soprano 1 is the highest part, so I get to sing all the really high notes, unfortunately. And then he's the
Yes.
higher notes part.
The tenor is the high part of that.
Yes.
Awesome. Sounds good. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations to our students on your achievements this evening. It is great to see how much, our families are contributing to their students and developing their skills and their talents, seeing you guys with your artistic chorus achievements. And then for our middle school kids with your kindness and generosity, that just is a life skill that is gonna take you so far. I want to thank our staff for coordinating those efforts, and instilling some of those values in these kids. Appreciate all that our school does for our students. And our elementary kids, but kudos to them on their spelling activities. I remember 5th grade it was tough. I went out on the word courtesy. I've never forgotten how to spell it now. I didn't see you. It left a major impression, spelling it wrong. Congratulations again. You all are welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting tonight. However, if you have other activities you want to get to tonight, now is your time. Thank you all.
As we all depart, so quietly and not awkwardly.
Thank you. Congratulations. All right, next up, we have our approval of our December 2nd, 2024 board meeting minutes. Is there a motion? Motion. That's Sarah. Thank you. A second. Matt, is there any discussion for any questions or edits, changes? All in favor, aye? Any opposed? Minutes are approved. Next up is our financial reports. David is joining us remotely this evening. Hey, David, are you on?
David, are you muted?
Yes.
Okay, we're here.
Okay. Ready for me?
Yes, David, thank you for joining us.
All right. We'll get December 1st.
Yes, and anything that you want to share on your screen would be helpful.
Screen. All right, and you can see me in this slick coffee shop with the cookies. All right, so I think I have my entire screen. Make sure that that's, yeah. So these are your preliminary reports through December. 50% remaining is kind of the number you want to see through December, 6 months through the fiscal year. That's already in July. Your total revenue is reflecting 49% use. That is, kind of where you want to be at this point in time based on the current budget. We can talk about the budget a little bit later, but that's being funded off of the 135-day count for July and August, and then the 5-day count for the last few months, and that will be adjusted to the 45-day count, which was 1,213 students, with that adjustment that occurs in January or February. The count occurred in October, so there will be a decrease in the state aid at that point, and then it gets adjusted to the 135-day count. The total expenses you can see here is 43% remaining, so under 50%. We do note again the salaries and benefits at 42. So we're missing that month of July there with the payroll pool. We've mentioned meeting about how to maybe incorporate that above the line and maybe do a monthly journal entry of some sort to try to capture that, given that that is between $500,000 and $1 million, a large number of the accrual that doesn't take effect until the next July. So we can definitely talk with the school about how to capture that on a monthly basis, so that's not kind of overstating the bottom line. The purchase services and supplies are slightly over 3%, but you kind of see that on a school basis for most schools in the first 6 months, front loading on supplies and encumbering some stuff. Capital outlay is over the large majority of that, $70,000 of it being technology equipment, $4,000 some trim capital equipment and some other construction, but for a large part that gets capitalized. So it wouldn't affect the debt service, but it would affect the net income, of course. So given that payroll pool piece, the bottom line is reflecting over $1 million currently through December, but again, with that other payroll factoring in, as well as the state aid classroom decreasing, and of course your debt service that comes out in June, $1.3 million. The actual bottom line would be closer to $168,000 based off the current student count that's budgeted, which is 1230 in this budget. Any questions on December?
Any questions for David?
So David, you convert this usually into our debt covenant look, don't you?
Did you hear that question, David?
Correct. I was taking this data and putting it in Excel to provide a debt covenant, kind of projecting the payroll accrual and the debt service coverage ratio. The debt covenant based off this 1.4 million without those two numbers would be well above the 1.1 number. So I can calculate that for you, but it would be above and beyond what it actually will end up being.
I guess what I'm trying to draw out here is that we're budgeted to be below the 1.1, right?
Based off the current budget, it's set to be at 1.1 with the 1230 count. There's a budget amendment that we can talk about because the student count is actually lower than 1230. Mentioned the 45-day count was 1213, and I think it's decreased since then, the enrollment. So we'll have to make an adjustment, which will put it below, yes, 1.1.
Thank you.
All right,
Should I go to that budget adjustment?
anything else for David, on the December? All right, thank you, David. Yes, so moving on to, our current fiscal year budget amendment.
Let me get this put up here. Alright, so I had a couple different versions. One with the root conversation, one without it. They're pretty much similar though. The biggest factor is the state aid to classroom line, this $14 million line. So again, that is where roughly 80% of your revenue comes from your state sources, which is all based off enrollment for the most part. So the original budget was based off of 1230 enrollment. So that's saying that you would have 1,230 students on average every day through 135 days, which is sometime in March. Last year, it was, I think, 1232 at the end of the day. So last year, you had a higher count at the beginning of the year, and so that average got inflated at that point. To where even they had less at the end, it ended up being 1230. Well, as we mentioned, the 45-day count was 1213. And typically High Point sees attrition from the 45 to the 135-day count. I think it's closer to 1,200 right now and being below that. So again, it is taking the average, and that's what 13 is part of it. This budget of $14,200,000 is based off of 1,200 students. So that's saying that between now and the 135th day count, which is in March, on average, there are 1,200 students attending High Point Academy, and then the weightings kind of go from there. But that decrease, along with the per pupil amounts, which was originally thought to be maybe a 4% increase, it would end up being more like 2% increase, was like a $600,000 change, decreasing those students to this, big revenue line. So we brought that up, I think in October or November as part of the finance meeting, and looked at different lines. So there were some adjustments made to, like rentals, for instance, increased $40,000 because of the upward change in lease. Some after-school care income would increase based off those projections. And then I look at the math here. There was, close to $100,000 in other supplies, expenses, et cetera, that were removed from the expense sections. The biggest savings came from salaries that were in the original budget that were not filled, by positions that weren't filled. So by not filling those and just remaining in that capacity, we were able to reduce that. But with all those changes, the bottom line is still not going to meet the 1.1 on the budget bottom line. It's reflecting $9,482 to the positive, which when you factor in $50,000 or so of technology being capital of that $76,000 mentioned earlier, that would be around the 1.03. This is the version with the roof included, which you can see the net income total would be in the red, $485,000. But because that gets added back here, it doesn't affect the debt service coverage ratio. So I'm just going to show my other tab, which does not have the roof. You can see the same numbers there with just that exclusion of the expense and the add back to the ratio. But of course, it does affect your bottom line and cash position. So this is the up-to-date version that is being proposed based off the enrollment projection to decrease to be on average 1,200 as of the 135th day count.
And David, at the end of that would leave how many days cash on hand? Still in the
version without the roof, it would still basically be what you're at as of June 30th of 24, which is around 90. If you take the roof into effect, I'd have to do the math on that. That'll, decrease your cash position by $20,000. Daily cash burns about 35. So
Take it to like 75.
yeah, somewhere around 75.
That's well above
45 days is the.
liquidity wise.
60.
We're sitting in a very good spot. It's just about the net income.
So as David said, this is coming before the board. It's been sitting with the finance committee and the admin team for a couple months. They're working through a lot of things to get us here. As he said, on the income side, our state aid to classroom funding, we know based on our enrollment is going to be less than what we were originally budgeting for. Right sizing some of the expenses. We had some placeholders for some salaries and other things, and trying to shore up that that decrease in revenue. And so that's why the finance committee has brought forward this amended budget for approval. And it gives getting us at that, what he has now, that 1.03 gets us to something that we can work with, to continue to make steps forward to get us where we need to go. Is there a motion?
So because it doesn't hit the 1.1, we'll probably not likely need to make future adjustments, but this gets
Correct.
us set in the right direction.
Correct,
Yeah.
yes. Let's get a motion on the table and then we can add any further discussion. Is there a motion to amend the fiscal year 25 budget?
So,
Teresa, is there a second?
second.
Debbie, or is there any more discussion, questions, further explanation, David? Anything?
I don't have it.
Okay, thanks, David. All in favor, aye? Aye. Any opposed? All right, budget's amended. Thank you, David.
Wait, David, the screen you're showing right now, do we have that? I'd love to have that paperwork
The budget,
that shows the adjusted with the 1.03.
yeah.
We have that too. Oh, it's on the left.
Yep.
Got it. Never mind. Thank you.
Thank you, David, for your work on that. Stephanie, Graves, Sherman, everyone else, Katie, finance committee. Thanks for getting us to that point and continuing conversations. Thanks for the work. David, I think that was it. Any other
Thank you, guys.
Did we
Yes.
say aye?
Yes. Thank you, David. Yes. Okay. Thanks, Katie. What do we got now? Superintendent's report.
Wonderful. Turning our attention to some other things that we need to cover. We have our quote on the board. You can read it yourself. And moving on to our order of business, open house is tomorrow, board members. If you would like to attend, you can come right here. Most of the new people will start here before they do their tour if you'd like to talk with them. You can also go to the library because the tours will end in the library. So you can be on either side of it depending on where you are. You can do both sides depending on what you want to do. But it starts at 8:30 to 1:30 and then 4 to 7. So if you can't do morning, do afternoon or whatever you can do, if you come on your lunch or whatever, we'd love to have you. Be here tomorrow for that. Teacher of the year will be
And you
announced.
just want us to come, like, even if it's for,
Just,
I'm just gonna come in the morning.
just to say hello and just meet some people and just, whatever.
Great.
I know y'all don't have all day, most of you work, but if you just have a few minutes to stop by, that'd be great.
Sounds great.
Teacher of the year will be announced February 20th. Those things have already gone out and we should be, Sandy, when will we get everything back? Teacher of the year.
For February 20th.
February 20th.
February 20th, yes. February 20th, yes.
For those of you who can stand it, you can have breakfast with the superintendent on March 18th. We'd love to have you if that's what you want to do.
Please come, please come.
We basically will go back over some things we've done this year and give you an idea of where we're heading and different things. And we always open it up to questions. So if anybody would like to come on March the 18th and join us, we'd love to have you. The lottery is due on March 25th. Gray, 149 in the lottery so far, is that correct?
I think we hit 150 a couple minutes ago.
So in the last
kindergartners.
50 kindergartners,
We're at 50 kindergartners. That puts us 20 ahead of 20 total ahead of where we were last year. Today, kindergartners.
so we had a really good weekend. We had like 18 coming this weekend.
A little bit.
Had a really good weekend. So we're hoping that that continues to do well. Literacy STEAM Night, March 27th. We have spring performances. Our play is in the middle of March. We're doing our musical is The Lightning Thief. So if you know anybody who'd like to see that, that'll be done in in March, and then we have the spring performances of our band, dance, chorus and all that in late April, early May. Teacher Appreciation Week, May 5th through the 9th, and graduation is Friday, May 16th at 6:30. So just some important dates for you to know and keep up with. Katie can send you this PowerPoint if you'd like to have it on the PowerPoint. All right, Gray, you want to take this one or you want me to?
Either one.
Why don't you take it? They're tired of hearing me.
So, mid-year strategic plan update. If you remember, the strategic plan is broken into 5 areas or 5 focus areas. The first one is student achievement. So if you want all the details, we shared that document with you. You're welcome to go into it and go through the spreadsheets and see every little thing we've done. We figured for this evening, y'all would rather just have a high-level view of the big stuff that we've worked on. So the big focus in elementary has been UFly. If you're keeping up with the education news and the science of reading and Ellen Weaver's big push with that, UFly fits under all that. It's heavy phonics instruction. So elementary has done a lot with implementing that in their classrooms. I've been in with Miss Buster to see them, and just the eyeball test. We've got kindergartners and first graders and second graders that are doing a lot more with words this time of year than previous. Kindergarten used to be, we would benchmark them at Christmas to see if they knew all of their, if they could name all the letters in the alphabet. Now we've got them doing CBC words, which are 3-level cat, bat, spelling those kind of words. So a lot of progress there. Middle school's big push this year has been common assessments. Trying to get just working on what assessments are we using, and then what you then do with that is once we've got a good assessment, we know what the kids don't know, and then you go back and reteach it. So they've done a lot of work with that. High school's big push has been backwards by design, same thing, focusing on assessments and the end result, working backwards, creating your pacing guides.
Greg, can I add with that? Assessments are going to be very big in the next year. Next month, you're going to hear a report from our Artificial Intelligence Committee and how AI is going to affect assessments and how we grade and what that looks like moving forward. But artificial intelligence, right now, probably half of our students are using ChatGPT. They're using other things. You go into ChatGPT, you tell it what you want, and it'll spit you out a paper, it'll spit you out a formula. And who was it? Was it you, Joe, was telling me that it'll spit out, you can put in I can even put in our grade stuff and it'll spit out charts and graphs.
And you can put in a standard and say, give me a 3rd grade lesson plan, and that will do a lesson plan that's about as detailed as you'll find anywhere.
So being able to assess kids with AI is going to change how we assess at home and how we assess at school. And there's a lot of changes, and AI is not going away. I don't know if y'all heard the announcement, but there's going to be like $500 billion investment from our government and people all over the world to invest in AI. So it's not going away. It's only going to get more, and it's here, and we have to deal with it somehow. So Ray and his committee will have that answer soon.
We'll have some kind of information. We have wrapped up winter math testing. We'll share that data with you next month. Right now, we're in the process of analyzing it. We didn't want to just give you guys the raw numbers without having the reasons behind it and the plans that we have made to move forward. So our academic team meeting, which is the principals and the counselors, and Ms. Hannon, our lone instructional coach, we met today to start that process of giving everybody an update on where we are. So y'all will get more on that in February. And again, this is just a snapshot of that document where we've housed all of our strategic plan documentation. This is that first goal, 1A. So you can see just a list of things that we've done this year. A lot of it focusing around HMH, which is the new English curriculum, and UFly and NTSS, and you can show them the 1B as well.
Ms. Buster, tell them real quick, we did an observation the other day in a 3rd grade classroom and explained to them what that HMH did. And I thought it was pretty difficult what they asked the kids to do. Do you remember what they asked about the hair?
Yes, they had to collaborate, they had to answer a question and then collaborate with a partner about your story. But what we have found is, HMH stands for Houghton Mifflin, that's the publisher. It's very similar to years ago, like a Basel reader, everybody has the kind of the same story and it's on grade level. So our teachers are starting to, we're still heavily doing small group reading as well, but we're also adding more of this to where everybody will receive the on grade level text, and it's pushing everybody. So it has a authentic literature in the book, and they had to read the passage, and then it has times for them to answer questions and passages, but it also makes them think and then collaborate, tells them to do that too. It's very heavy with vocabulary, which we've seen a lot of success with that, and grammar. It's adding all of those pieces together. And he's referring to a third grade class, and third grade, they are just starting to implement the HMH curriculum in with what they're doing. Fourth and fifth grade started the year with it, and then now we're kind of trickling in with third grade.
Thank you, Kim.
Mm-hmm.
Next focus area is innovative practice. So high school, we're continuing to work with SCC to nail down the details of what it looked like to offer more SEC courses to our students. I think we've mentioned this in past meetings, but so far we've mainly done the core subjects, ELA, math, history, those kind of classes. We're working on getting our kids access to all the technical classes, or as many of them as we can. There's a few of them that we've got limitations on, either because of age or the hours that the class is offered, but overall, it could be a great opportunity for our kids because we don't have access to a career center. I kind of asked why the other high schools in the area haven't taken advantage of it, and that was basically SCC's answer was we want them to, but because they have career centers, they really have no interest in it. So they seem pretty eager to help us with that. Project Lead the Way is another big piece of our innovative practice. Kind of our big thing that we've done with that this year is it's fully implemented in middle school, and our definition of fully implemented is there's a course offering in each grade level. For right now, and Ms. Goodlick can correct me if I'm wrong, for right now, that's probably our capacity as far as student interest and what we have the staff to support. There could be a day where there's more kids that want to take it and we look at adding 2, but for the most part, we would consider that fully implemented, that they can do it once each year. And other area of innovative practice is the AI committee. Like Mr. Sherman mentioned, our goal this semester, we've really worked on coming up with some kind of policy for AI, exploring the AI tools for ourselves. And then the goal is next year, we will have teachers that are leading the professional development throughout the year, probably doing almost a mini conference type thing. So, one of those first days we're back, we'll have a kickoff session in the PAC, and the teachers will be able to choose different sessions that they can go to learn about different tools. A lot of it the first year will probably be more about teachers using the AI, how they can use the AI to make, I want to say their lives easier, but they're teaching more effective. Talking about examples, there was one I found the other day, and it's a tool that is designed, you put in an assignment, and it gives you a way to AI proof it, to make it more difficult for the kids to use AI to answer it. So just little, and there's tons of them. There's tons of little tools that teachers can use that'll help. So those are our big pushes with innovative practice.
Greg, how many teachers are in that committee?
There's about 10 teachers and administrators. And it was really neat. I'll tell him, Mr. Plyler, he's kind of quiet. He sheepishly raised his hands at one of our meetings. And he said, I don't mean any offense to the administrators, but it probably go better if the teachers heard this from us and not you guys. And I was like, yes, that's exactly what we're doing. Good job. I said, he just nominated to lead the whole school assembly. But,
I'm glad to hear there's teachers on it. I assumed it was just a committee of AI working together.
Now, what's funny is a lot of us, present stuff to the group, and we're like, yeah, we had ChatGPT. High quality employees, that's kind of broken down into 3 areas, recruit, training them, and retaining them. So we've been to some job fairs, and we have some job fairs to go to. Anderson University, Clemson, Upstate's coming. We've done those. The ones coming up are North Greenville, USC, and Clemson. Really, our best one over the past few years has been that North Greenville job fair. We've recruited a lot of teachers from North Greenville, and they turned out to be really good teachers. They seem to have a very strong teacher prep program over there. We've got a lot of teachers that we are working, have either worked with to get certification or on track for certification. Our elementary dance teacher just got her certification. I think that's the first time we've had a certified dance teacher, maybe ever, at least as long as I can remember.
In elementary.
Yes, in elementary. We've had them in middle and high. In elementary, it's been difficult. Just because there's so few schools that have dance programs, a lot of teachers don't go in to get a dance certification because their jobs are limited. One of our kindergarten teachers that has been here for several years, she has been working through Teach for America, Teachers of Tomorrow. We just got news today that she has gotten her certification. She's finished it. And then we've got several others that are on track to get them certified. PD-wise, elementary has done a lot with letters. Again, that's science of reading training. The letters training is about the equivalent of a master's level course. That they are asking these elementary teachers to do. It is a tremendous amount of work. There have been several professional development days that is all they have done all day. Because of the hurricane, there have been some nights that they have stayed as a whole group till about 5:30 or 6 o'clock at night.
6:45.
That was great.
6 of those.
Yes.
We have 4 more.
To be exact.
Yeah, so this is, again, if you've heard talk about it in the news or wherever, it is a very intense training. So that has pretty much been the focus of elementary this year.
And I'm proud to say there are 30 total teachers doing our training.
Yep, it's a large number. RTI, we've done a lot of professional development with RTI Stored. Most of that has been our administrators going to the training and then coming back and teaching our staff. And again, that's our software that we use for MTSS, intervention, supporting students. The special education department, we bought them a curriculum last year called Spire. They've continued to have ongoing professional development and training in how to use that. And then middle school, we'll be doing trauma-induced response training in March. Is that right? So that training is basically teaching teachers how to identify trauma that students may have gone through that often is not vocalized, and understanding how that impacts the kids and what they can do to meet the kids in those areas.
That's not every kid in middle school.
But and that kind of is the idea behind the trauma is everybody's got stuff that impacts them, and teachers, and especially at all levels, relationships are important. Middle school may be the area where relationships are the most important. It's just such a quirky time in kids' lives. One day they're an elementary kid, one day they're a high school kid, in the way that they interact. So that'll be a good training for them. But again, trying to build high quality employees by training them up. Community engagement highlights, we had family fun night. That was a really good night that brought in a lot of people into the community. Obviously tomorrow we have open house. Ms. Nessberg and I went and met with Ava Hughes at the Chapman Cultural Center. One of our strongest programs is our fine arts program. And we've really talked about a lot as a staff that's something that we need to market to the community. That's probably is our most unique thing, is how strong of a fine arts program we have in such a small school. So Ms. Nessberg and I were talking, and it seemed obvious that the Chapman Cultural Center would be a good partner with that. So we met with Ms. Hughes. Did get several good ideas about having Hughes Machine in the building next year, possibly some artists in residence. There's even a chance, if we can get enough students interested, that Ballet Spartanburg would do a class here in the afternoons, maybe as part of our after-school program. Or we even talked about, we could bus kids to there for the classes. So trying to strengthen those relationships. Several of our staff members have signed up for Lions Club. The most obvious benefit is many people got brooms for Christmas. There have also been, just a chance to get our name out there and have them come in and do vision screenings for our students as well. Ms. Goodlett is participating in One Spartanburg, which is a leadership program at Spartanburg. I think Ms. Parker has done it at some point. And that's just a really good chance to network with leaders in the Spartanburg community. SAM is a Spartanburg academic movement. We've done a few things with them. We've also attended a few Spartanburg County Foundation meetings. Spartanburg County Foundation will not donate to schools, but it's still a good chance to meet people in the community and again, just let people know that we're here. And then we've also done the preschool and nursing home plays, inviting them to the dress rehearsals. And then our chorus went and sang at Tron Estates over the break as well. So those are the main highlights from community engagement. And the last one is fiscal responsibility. This is the most boring of the five. And most of it was done over the summer when we created a procurement manual and the P-card policy and all that. A couple new things. We have just signed up for the state fleet fuel cards. So we'll save a little bit. It basically gives us the state rate on gas and diesel when we fill up the buses. Won't be huge savings, but could help a little bit. And then we're also, this was the first family fun night that we did it, but we're trying to slowly kind of transition it into a fundraising night. A lot of times, as again, Ms. Nessberg and I have researched fundraising. To be successful with that, you generally got to have some kind of match, right? You can't just go and ask these companies to provide money. You need to be willing to put some money up front. So our idea is we can use Family Fun Night as somewhat of a capital campaign fundraiser, and that will give us some money that if we need to make a match, we have that money available to do that. After we bought supplies, I think we brought in 2,000. Maybe that's a Family Fun Night.
The number on the printout that I did there was a lot higher than that. The first number was a 6.
Okay.
I thought it was closer to 2, but the first number, I saw 6,700.
Okay, yeah, so I thought, given that we had to have the initial investment of buying a lot of supplies to do it, it turned out pretty well.
Turned out really good. It was well organized. There was a lot of places for people to go. We had rave reviews.
Yeah.
It's done very well. So I think that helps.
That was largely because Ms. Nessberg and Samantha Decker planned it.
Samantha Decker's our PTO president.
Yes. And that should be the high-level overview of our strategic.
We got one more thing to look at, and about in September, I sat down with Joe and I said, Joe, let's update, tell me where we are with our technology needs, what we need, where we are. And he began looking at it, and as he'll go over, most of our technology needs were bought with Title I money and ESSER money. Since we're no longer receiving either of those, I asked Joe to kind of look at the future budget needs and what this would look like to our existing budget. I think you got all that information correct in there. So Joe, go ahead and welcome to the wonderful world of technology money.
Our favorite thing ever. He stole my opening line, so that's okay. Less words for me to have to say. Obviously, he just said that. So the main areas we're going to talk about is Verkada camera licenses, Chromebook replacement costs, and go back one, and iPad replacement costs. So the ESSER money is gone, as you know. He talked about that. It's not coming back. Our cameras and the licenses for that, the Verkada was bought, I believe, with all ESSER money. And so right now, our renewal for those licenses is going to be due in February 2027. So basically what that means is the next 2 budget cycles, we've got to find a way to set aside $30,000 on those 2 next budget cycles to be able to pay for that renewal come 2027. we'll explain a little bit more about that later.
Are you gonna pick questions later too?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll wait
yeah. Let's go to the next one. All right, so same thing with Chromebooks. We made a big purchase with the ESSER money that we had to get a bunch of Chromebooks in. But as you know, kids are pretty rough on these things. And so Corey does an amazing job of repairing these things. But they only last for so long, even with those repairs. And eventually the Chromebooks have an end of life, no matter how many repairs you do. One good thing that is helping us out is Google, a couple of years ago, they came out with a new policy and they extended the life of Chromebooks out to guaranteed 10 years as far as updates. It used to be there's all these staggered dates, and once you reach end of life, even though the Chromebook's perfectly fine, you cannot update it anymore. Now you can't use it for state testing, can't use it for pretty much anything because you can't get updates and it's a security risk. So thankfully they updated that, so that helps a little bit. But still, what you want to do is you want to have a life cycle of all your devices, because you don't want any one year where you're replacing $1.5 million worth of computers. So you want to try to stagger that. So that's the idea here. And like I said, in years past, we had the ESSER money or title money to help pay for that. But now that that's gone, we've got to figure out a way to have that money set aside to make these purchases.
Joe, they don't really last 10 years.
No, they don't.
Like how many years then?
So generally 4 or 5 years is about how long you're going to get out of it. If you really push it, maybe 6 years. And there are some devices that we've got right now that they're on that last 6th year. But as that comes around, we're cycling them out. So, all right. So iPad replacement costs, same deal. Basically, you just look at how many iPads you have across the board and what is the life cycle, and then do the math on that, how many you need to replace each year to keep up with that demand. And so once we ran the numbers on our iPads, it's about 21 grand a year. Okay, so in a nutshell, what we're saying is that we have to find a way to set aside about 101,000 for the next 2 budget cycles for these things, because we don't have money already budgeted for that since they were originally purchased with ESSER money. Now, if you break that down into past the next 2 cycles, we still have to keep finding a way to pay for these things. The difference is for the cameras, you don't have to set aside so much in one budget year like we do right now. Because right now, we've only got 2 years for the cameras to come up with the money for it. Whereas after we renew that, then we'll have a 3-year cycle where we can set aside in FY 28, 29, and 30, you can set aside 20 grand a year. So when that 3rd year rolls around, you'll have that 60,000. Now I do want to caveat that with prices may continue to rise each year. These are all just estimates. I have not so far found a company that decided to lower their prices. They usually just keep raising those prices. So yeah, that's
Joe, what is the 60,000? What are we paying for? Like cloud storage, or what is
the camera licenses? So all the security cameras throughout the building, inside, outside. We have the physical cameras, but all the ability to operate them and constant updates and being able to remotely access them, do archives, all that stuff. Basically, to operate the cameras, you have to have a license. So if you decided not to renew the license, you just would have cameras that don't do anything. So if you want to keep using the cameras, the security cameras, you have to renew those licenses.
$20,000 a year?
But if you do it yearly, it's actually more expensive.
Well, I'm just saying average, 60,000 every 3 years.
Yeah, and believe it or not, they were one of the for what we get and the quality of what we get and how well they work, as one of the cheaper options that's out there.
They are pretty robust as far
Sure.
as, you can, I mean, if we know Joe was in this area at this time, we can tag Joe and then it will automatically track him to the different cameras and tell us where he went.
It has
it's not as simple as just recording it and we got.
I'm not doubting you at all. I'm speaking from ignorance. I had no idea. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Will you have replacement costs on the cameras eventually?
Eventually, if they die, they do have, the indoor cameras have warranties on them. The outdoor cameras have limited warranty. We have had about 3 cameras since we, first got these, 3 cameras that have went bad. They have replaced all of those cameras, so far. Even the ones that were outside that, were just completely water soaked and you could look at it and be like, yeah, that thing got drenched in water. They replaced it, no questions asked. So they've been really good with their warranty so far. So
Joe, how many outdoor cameras do we have?
I don't have an exact number on outdoor, but probably about 50 at least, maybe. So around 50. We have a total of about 135 cameras throughout the facility, inside and out.
Sorry, if anybody else has questions. Is purchasing Chromebooks something that can be capitalized so we don't have to budget it? Yes?
I would think so. If you look at our capitalization policy, you can group projects together. I would think so.
But iPads would fit that same.
So like Sharp.
Cameras too, right?
Yeah, I don't know that you can capitalize, if we were purchasing the physical camera, but I don't know that you can capitalize the license.
No, right, not the license. I just mean the products, like
The hardware,
iPads.
yes, the software.
Hardware, yes. Yeah.
It's a little hard.
Yeah, okay.
Do you think, is Chromebook and iPad the devices that you anticipate continuing with in the future? I know, because like technology, new things come out all the time.
Yes, the other equipment that we have, like the desktops in the labs, the teachers' laptops, the SEC stuff, all of those, we actually have already budgeted in our budget that we spend. We have a life cycle on those just like this, and every year, if we need it, we'll replace those, and we usually need it every year. Believe it or not, teachers sometimes are pretty rough on computers as well. They don't last as long as we want to. The good news on the teacher laptop front is we've actually partnered with a local company out of Greenville, and we piloted some of their computers, and they were really good. So we went with a big fleet this last time, and every single teacher who has gotten those laptops has been, this thing is so amazing. It is so better than the other computers. And they seem to not get broke as easy as the other ones. So we're kind of moving away from the brand we were using. I don't want to name brands on broadcast, but we're moving away from that brand, the old one. And this company seems to be pretty good. So,
Are there any grants out there? I think this would be a common one for grants.
I mean, there are grants, and I have looked into grants. I'm not a very good grant writer person, but I have looked into that. So if we have people though that's good at grant writing, then that would be willing to help, then we definitely need that. Computer just.
That's my class, I always black.
Oh, okay. I thought that did something.
Yeah, that's right.
Did you have the computer die on purpose so we'd see that you?
She said her last slide goes black. She got me. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it.
So just thinking about this for, on the finance side, some of it would be actually used like every year. There would be an actual expense, right? That could or could not be put into the technology budget, or be like kind of a separate.
Well, we really need to plan on it. When you do the life cycle budgets, you want to plan on that, because if you don't plan on setting the money aside for that, then you risk, okay, the next year, we didn't do it this year, the next year, we didn't need to do it. Then all of a sudden you hit that third year and everything dies all at once. And so generally the way you would do it is all your old stuff that you're getting rid of, you either put it on Gov Deals, or like the company we just partnered with, IT Savvy, Providence Capital. They came and picked up a bunch of our old equipment, and see, we would have to recycle all that ourselves, which can cost money for us to recycle. And so what they did, they're picking it up for us, and they got 7 pallets worth of old stuff that's not on the books anymore. And so they will evaluate that and recycle the stuff that's broke, which there was a lot of it. And the stuff that has value, they'll cut us a check for that. It won't be a huge check, but we'll at least get some money out of it. So that's basically what you want to do, try to cycle that stuff through, get all your old stuff off your books, get rid of it, so that you continually have good operating stuff. You, like I said, you don't want that 1 year where you've got,
Right.
you know, your whole entire fleet that you have to replace, because you won't have money for that.
So it'll still be figured into the operating budget. Thank you for sharing that to make sure that it's front of mind coming up.
Joe, thank you. That concludes my report. Any questions or comments? We are welcome to any questions you have. Gina Jo is the.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the team and all of your updates and information. Yes, so our 25-26 academic calendar has been shared with you all. Yes, go ahead.
When we sat down to look at the calendar this year, we've been very fortunate that the first, second, have always been on a Wednesday or Thursday. So we've been able to come back on the first or second and be okay. This year, the calendar falls, the first is on a Friday. We did not want to come back on a Friday and then come back on Monday. And we didn't want to come on a Monday because if you come on a Monday, your first full week of school is 5 days, and you don't want to do 5 days on the first couple of days back. About 3 days, our teachers are done. So in order to be similar to the other calendars that we've done, we have decided to have the teachers come back on the 6th, and the students would start on the 13th. The other big change you will find is instead of having a 2-day break in November and then a 3-day Thanksgiving break, we decided to, so a lot of school districts are doing this now, we decided to give a week at Thanksgiving and cut out the fall break in the middle. And that way the parents can plan for trips on that week. And then we have our Christmas break 3 weeks later. The only difference is if you look at the end of May, we've been getting out the weekend before Labor Day. We will get out on the 29th, but we can do field days and all that kind of stuff that last week of school. Our testing will be over, and that'll be our week, our fun week with our kids, where they do all the field days, all the end of the year banquets and that kind of stuff. So I think next year the calendar is a little more favorable to go back to what we've been doing, but for this coming year, to kind of stay like we've been and not have to come back on a Monday or a Friday, we thought this kind of went with what we've been doing. And so this is our recommendation to, and as you'll see, January the 2nd, February the 13th, and March the 13th are our 3 built-in makeup days that the state requires.
What is going on in January? Like you have staff development day on the 2nd, and it says students return on the 6th, Tuesday, but the 5th is highlighted. So what is the 5th?
It should be students come back on the 5th.
Okay.
As many times as we look at this,
Yeah.
and catch
I understand.
errors,
I understand.
we're still seeing this stuff.
I just wanted to be clear.
Yeah.
So the green is when the students return.
That's correct.
Is there anything else that's different from this year?
Calendar people worked on that. Is there anything different other than what we talked about already?
No, we did, because we're not doing the November fall break, we beefed up a weekend in October. So you've got that PD day on the 16th, everybody's got a break on the 17th. And that makes for a 3-day weekend for staff for, so that kind of becomes your fall break in October, which has been another popular request by staff and families, that fall break be a little bit sooner as opposed to doing it over that election weekend. That's really, and then the staff coming back on the 2nd, we normally try to let staff come back on a Monday and then the kids come back on a Tuesday. But it didn't work this year to make that happen. And so we had to have 10 professional development days. So the other option would have been to put 2 PD days in May, and we felt like we probably weren't gonna get a whole lot of teachers or out of teachers on that, especially if we were already pushing it back a little bit anyway. a lot of districts are making their teachers come back in July to get their days in and try to be done by Memorial Day. And we figured that was just demoralizing.
If I tell my teachers I come back in July, it's done.
I've already mentioned to Mr. Sherman, but I just want to ask and clarify again, Mary Allison, maybe you can clarify it. With the full week for Thanksgiving and not having the Election Day holiday, I read that's the law every other year. You have to have that Election Day holiday off.
I think that's right. So this year you had to have it all.
24.
But not 25.
But in 26, we will.
Does that include if you're not a polling site?
And our charter schools exempt from it.
I think there's been arguments that they're exempt from it. The public charter school district has taken the position that if you're a polling site for safety reasons, you should close down. If you're not a polling site, I think you have some flexibility whether you.
Because I just caution doing something with holidays that is not going to be sustainable. Like, are we forevermore going to have a full week off for Thanksgiving?
But that seems like we are. It is the same, right? Because we're not a polling site? Wait, or are we?
We're not a polling site, so my understanding of the law is if you're not a polling site, you don't have to close.
Yeah, I think you've got flexibility. I think the public charter school district has generally held the position that you have flexibility unless you're a polling site, and you should, consider the safety ramifications of being.
That was my only concern, if we were gonna have to basically reverse it again next year.
We'll say, a week, just for like a parent who, a week's hard, like I have to find childcare for those extra days, because most of us don't have off the whole week. That might be really hard for some of our parents. It's just a thought from a parent. And I do get like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday off of work, but like, pretty typical.
Or would they have childcare on Monday the 3rd and Tuesday the 4th?
Or
If that was when we regularly put the holiday, would they have
I think
childcare?
you're gonna have problems. I'm just thinking for weeks.
A full week, yeah. Sometimes it's easy to find 1 or 2 days.
Yes.
Who puts together the calendar?
Generally me, Greg, Katie, and then there's usually a parent, so like a teacher. There's several people on the calendar committee.
And you said those are our 3, the January, February, March.
We did learn from our mistakes of previous years and make sure our makeup days were in the middle of the year and not back on the end of the calendar. So if we have another once in a generation hurricane, we won't have to get you to the end of those days.
Yeah. All right. Staff has recommended the draft 25-26 academic calendar. Is there a motion for approval? Matt, is there a second? Sarah, all in favor, aye? Any opposed?
Thank you.
Motion carries. All right.
Katie, will this be posted tomorrow morning?
After make a few edits, yes.
All right. Lastly, our last business matter is public comments. Tika?
Yes, we have one public comments. And Dr. Latoya Davis.
All right. 1 second. Tika, will you read the?
Oh, I'm sorry, I took it from.
No, you're good.
Okay. All guests in attendance at the board directors meeting must sign below, which we sign. I have to read to you, the official meeting of the board. The meeting of the board is a law, public meeting, and the board values citizens' input. However, in order to protect the integrity of the agenda, public dialogue will be restricted to the public comments. Each section of the agenda or directed by the board chair. If you would like to address the board, please check the appropriate box below. I don't think I'm supposed to read that, Jen. That's why you didn't read it.
But you don't think you're fine.
Okay, each speaker has 3 minutes. Speakers may not ask questions of board members. Board members may not engage speaker in discussion. Disruptive behavior by any person in attendance of the meeting is not permitted. Personal attacks aimed at students or staff are not permitted. Scurrilous, obscene, or reckless defamatory language aimed at any board members is not permitted. And that's it.
Thank you for being here. Looking forward to hearing from you. I'm gonna put a 3-minute timer on just on the rules, but you go ahead.
Would you like me to stand?
However you're comfortable.
Okay, well, since you are.
Sure.
So, I am Dr. Latoya Davis, and I do just have, maybe like 2 comments, not anything like directed at anyone on the board, because I know no one. My son was a transfer from Dorman, so he's a senior this year. And of course, we have senior night coming up on Tuesday. And I was a little disappointed that we weren't able to, as a community, come together after the game. I'm not sure of the reason why. We weren't provided the reason why, but I know many parents spent many dollars, buying food, ordering platters that we can't get our money back for. And as a result of that, we were left kind of like in the cold. I offered my home, of course, because I didn't want anyone child not to feel like they weren't important. Again, my son is a senior. My son is kind of just laid back. He doesn't care one way or another. But there are some kids, they've been playing basketball for a really long time. And I just thought it was unfortunate that we were told Friday at about 4:45 that we were not able to have the event after the game was over. So that's kind of why I'm here today. On the same lines, I just feel as if we're going to discipline kids for their actions while they're on the team, I think it should apply to all kids, not just some kids. For example, there was one kid that was an altercation. He was suspended for 3 games, and I felt that he should be suspended for games. But then the same thing happened on Friday, and there were no consequences. So I just feel like if there are going to be consequences for one child for disrupting a game, being offensive, foul language, whatever the case may be, that should be the same for every child, no matter who you are. That's it.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
your comments. It's very very thoughtful of you. There's a few things I'm sure Mr. Sherman can speak to the team, staff.
We talked about, enrollment, and I think just for me, I've heard comments like, things like this are why we're pulling our kids, and I would hate for that to happen because I've had a great experience here. Like I said, my son transferred here from Norman, which is a huge school, his senior year. So to transfer your senior year, that is a big deal.
Yeah.
And to come here and love the environment, love the teachers, I actually love the relationships that he's built with his teachers. I've only got one call, I think, from the principal about a cell phone, but I appreciated that call because I'm like, hey, if there's ever a problem, just call me. I work from home. Just let me know. I'm involved. I want to know what's going on. I don't really come to board meetings too much just because I do have 2 other little kids. But I made it my business to come today because I want to know what's going on in the community. And when I hear things like, I don't know if I'm going to keep my kid here, that hurts enrollment according to what I just heard, and what I just saw. So I wouldn't want that particular situation to be the reason why a parent pulled their kid to another school, just because they were robbed of the opportunity of coming together after the game to eat food. I mean, it may not seem important to some people, but I mean, it's important when you're spending your money,
I appreciate that feedback. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can Mr. Sherman follow up with her?
Yes.
I'll leave this to you.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Chairman, will you follow up with her?
Yeah, I would, yeah, no problem.
All right, we have, next item is executive session for receipt of legal advice for policies and pending contractual arrangements. Is there a motion for executive session?
Motion.
Josh Purser. Is there a second? Teresa, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All All right, we're in executive session. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you both.